Today's topic is fun with AI. I'm Chuck Webster. I have a lot of initials after my name. My mother says I'm killing myself by degree. Everything I'm going to show you is at my blog, muirhavenite.com. We live in Muir Haven, Del Webb, on the west side. And I write a lot about AI, but also other stuff like, when we go on our day trips or weekend trips in Mexico. The overall theme is you can accomplish a lot if you don't know what you're doing. This guy is saying, what does this button do? You just click around, and click around. Yes. So, today, this is not a tutorial about how to use AI. If you go to muirhaven.com, I actually have 2 hour and a half presentations about, what do you download, what do you type, how do you type it, what can you do? This is all about examples of stuff that I've created with AI. And the extent of my tutorial is this. Everything you're going to see is created by typing a few words or maybe uploading an image. We're going to cover about 4 or 5 areas, so no matter what your area is of creative interest, AI can help you learn and have fun. And Jets is our dog. As I said, everything is on muirhavenite.com, and it even looks like this. So when you go to it, there's a little tab called AI. If you click on that, you'll just find about 40 or 50 Substack articles. A lot of them have videos. On that is a YouTube video called ChatGPT for Dummies and Deep Thinkers, which I presented 3 months ago at the Oasis Continuing Ed Center. So if you really want, the detailed, the steak and not just the sizzle, that's one way to do it. All right, images. I can't draw. And yet, so about 2 years ago, and this is the first image I ever created on ChatGPT. And you can download ChatGPT to your iPhone, your Android, or you can go to just Google it. And I typed, create a cartoon of a cruise ship lifestyle director directing an orchestra full of gray-haired musicians. And I was going to send this to our lifestyle director in our Muir Haven retirement community. I said, wait a minute, well, she's female brunette, so I rewrote it. Create a cartoon of a brunette female cruise ship lifestyle director directing an orchestra full of gray-haired musicians under a banner with the good ship Muir Haven. Notice, ship is misspelled. AI has a surprisingly difficult time with spelling stuff, and sometimes you got to correct it. That's right. So I wrote, change the spelling of S-H-I-I-P to S-H-I-P, and it did. But you notice, now the one is just floating there. So every time you fix one thing, something else will break. And that's part of the fun, or so I say. So we were just talking about Rodenia, the vineyard. And this is my wife having a glass of white wine. And we had run out of business cards. Even though we're retired, we still have business cards. And I said, why don't we have like a cartoon of us on the back? And I thought, and I said to ChatGPT, here, could you please make a cartoon? And I was thinking it was going to be kind of like that, the brunette cruise director, kind of cartoonish. And I got back this, look at the lovely glow of the sun, the reflection, the French manicure. And Diana loved it, and I was surprised. Because, I was expecting something a little more like what you see in the funny pages. And so I said to ChatGPT, that was unexpected. She loved it. She's so glamorous. I said to ChatGPT, what was the difference? And ChatGPT said, she's your wife. So ChatGPT learns about you and tries to do, the right thing. Okay, so my wife went to a school called Roedean in the UK, and it's along right down here would be Brighton, and she wanted a big poster of a kind of an aerial, old-time watercolor thing of her school, and we couldn't find it anywhere. And just as we were about to give up, I said, ChatGPT, can you do that? And ChatGPT said, sure. And so it's about this wide and about that high, and it hangs on the wall, which is our British room, which is very green, and it's full of tennis rackets. Okay, there's a movie called Escape from New York. Kurt Russell plays Snake Plissken. And I'm working on a kind of an AI-enabled parody called Escape from Mirrhaven. And I said, okay, how about a poster? At least we'll start off with. So there's my headshot, and I took a poster. This is not identical, but I uploaded a poster, and it created Chuck Plissken here, and we have the walls of our Mirrhaven, and you can't read it here, but it says lifestyle director. Here's a list of my clubs, and so that's just fun. Oh, I did this morning. This very morning, we were sitting in the plaza, and I belong to a kind of a shotgun trap shooting club, and we alternate. We go shoot shotguns, which are at clay discs, and then the other month we have donuts. And so I said, oh, the Mirrhaven Shooting Sports alternates between shooting clay discs out of the air at the shotgun trap range and eating donuts. Create a cartoon in which gray-haired men are shooting donuts with shotguns. And so look, we're just blasting those donuts out of the air, and look at our symbol here. It's got sprinkles on it, and good shooting and good eating. Now, by the way, notice that's a weird-looking shotgun. So, now what happens is you keep on changing your prompt, and eventually you try to fix it. Okay, voices. As you can tell, I would be terrible in theater because I can't act. I had this idea about 4 or 5. I used to spend a lot of time in virtual reality. And people from all over the world are wearing headsets, and we're hanging around together. And I would love to go to live plays. Live plays. The actors would wear headsets, the audience would be there, and they'd be on a set. And I said, oh, I'm going to do that. I'm going to write a play and get a bunch of my friends to perform. And the problem was, I'm not a script writer, I'm not a set designer, and I couldn't recruit people to do what I want, so I set it aside. And then AI came along. And my wife was preparing to pass a docent exam at the Balloon Museum. And there is this is one of the most famous photos in Arctic exploration. This is a hydrogen balloon that took off from Sweden with 3 explorers. There's a wonderful exhibit at the Balloon Museum. It's S.A. Andre's expedition. This is Andre, this is Frankel, and Strindberg was the photographer. And this is right after they've crashed. Okay, they took off, right here, they're taking off right here, and then they disappeared for 33 years. And then a whaler came along and found their bodies and their diaries and their logs and their photographic plates. So we know a lot about what happened to them after the fact. And this is a scale model. And down here, that gondola is actually about almost 3,000 pounds. It's full of sleds and rifles for shooting polar bears and a boat. And over here is a monument of where they were found. I thought, well, what an interesting subject for maybe a radio play. Well, I needed visuals. And so I wrote to a different AI program. I wrote, Victorian Arctic explorer shoots a polar bear on the snow. Well, I got a polar bear with a rifle. So I go, well, that didn't work out very well. Okay, then I said, how about an Arctic snowstorm, an old-fashioned balloon, and a gondola on its side? Well, okay, the bottom of that basket's called a gondola, but that's also what you find in Italy. So I said, so what am I doing wrong? And so I said to ChatGPT, help. And it said, why don't you let me write the prompts from now on? Okay, so this is the 5-minute play that I created. And my instruction was, this is a conversation between the explorers as they're floating. And the first part is they're talking about what led up to their situation. The middle part is them going, wow, look at all this ice. And then the third part is kind of looking ahead and kind of foreshadowing their demise. Now, we'll see if we can get it loud enough.
Prologue. In the summer of 1897, Salomon August André launched a hydrogen balloon named Ernen, the Eagle. With him, Niels Strindberg, a young scientist and photographer, and Knut Frenkel, a civil engineer with a steady hand. Their dream, drift across the North Pole by air. Their truth, endless ice, stubborn winds, and a silence white as bone. Scene 1. Ascent. The ropes sing, the gondola box, the eagle rises. André.
Gentlemen, at last we rise. Sweden's banner sails where no man's flag has flown. Our names will be carved in the ice of history.
Strindberg.
The horizon is gone. Only white. It feels as if we've left the world behind.
Frenkel.
We left common sense behind with it. These steering ropes, stiff as iron bars.
André.
Temporary difficulties. The principle is sound.
Frenkel.
The principle of Icarus was sound too.
A figure forms in the glare, an apparition in medals and fur. King Oscar II.
Godspeed, brave sons of Sweden. May your eagle soar.
The snow swallows the king as if he had never been. Scene 2. Doubts. Higher, colder. Doubt grows heavier than ballast. Strindberg.
In Stockholm, they said this would be suicide. Learned men, explorers, parliamentarians.
André.
Small minds. Progress is never born of caution.
Frenkel.
No, disaster is.
Strindberg.
Think of Nansen. He crossed Greenland by sled and returned alive.
André.
Nansen crawled where we saw.
Frenkel.
At least he crawled home.
Another gentleman steps out of mist, elegant, exhausted by invention. Alfred Noble.
Progress is bought dearly.
He fades, leaving only the smell of smoke and paper. Scene 3. Portents. A sandbag splits, gas hisses. The eagle dips, skims the ice like a wounded bird. Strindberg.
She sinks.
André.
A flirtation with the surface, nothing more. The eagle is strong.
Frenkel.
Strong? She leaks like a tavern drunk. We should have named her the Sieve.
Strindberg.
Even if we fail, the photographs will endure. People will see what we saw.
André.
Yes, science and vision will redeem us.
Frenkel.
Redemption makes a poor breakfast.
Faces bloom in frost on the gondola glass. Love far away. Anna Charlier.
Niels. My beloved Niels.
Strindberg.
Anna.
Gustava.
Salomon. Come home to me.
Unnamed sweetheart.
Knut. Please.
Frenkel.
Not here. Not now.
The ice whispers.
Mine.
Scene 4. Foreshadowing. The horizon stretches without end. They speak of how they will be remembered. Strindberg.
I imagine future men stumbling upon our bones. Will they marvel at our courage or laugh at our folly?
Frenkel.
Both. Warm fires make brave judges.
André.
Better to be remembered fools who dared than wise men who stayed home.
Frenkel.
I'd settle for remembered. Alive.
Strindberg.
Alive or not, I will make certain we look heroic in the photographs.
Footfalls approach from a year not yet born, 33 winters away. Here they are, a camp frozen in time, journals, film. The footsteps pass through them like wind through sails, and are gone. Scene 5. The white silence. The eagle sags. The ropes are iron. The world narrows to white. André.
Sweden shall remember.
Strindberg.
The lens shall remember.
Frenkel.
The ice shall remember.
Their ghosts stand with them now, kings and chemists, mothers and sweethearts, circling, watching, fading into snow. The ice whispers,
Mine. Mine.
Well, now we're going to get a little less serious, because that is kind of serious, but it was fun to make. Music. I can't sing. I'm not a singer. I'm not a musician. So, my wife and I visited good friends in Phoenix, and they are avid golfers, and they're AI curious. Now, since then, they've gone all in, so they send us all kinds of cool stuff like me. And so, one morning, Jerry, who is an accomplished Irish-American musician, and I golfed. Two of us, they paired us with Roger and Lloyd at Pebble Creek, and I birdied one hole, Roger hit the long drive on one hole, Lloyd kept losing his balls, Jerry putted into the water hazard, and I wrote all these down as little notes in my phone. And then we left early to go have a beer, and then when we got home, his garage was flooded because his water heater had busted. And I wrote all those notes, and then the next morning, he went off to his volunteer work at the Phoenix Musical Instrument Museum. I had 2 hours, and I had never used a program called Suno, which you give it lyrics and some instructions about the style. And in 2 hours, despite the fact I'm not a lyricist, I'm not a musician, I'm not a singer, I'm not a cartoonist, and this video has all kinds of weird problems. They're putting the ball and the hole is in the middle of the sand trap. Weirdness. But I did it in 2 hours, and I was kind of tentative because I wasn't sure how my talented Irish musician friend would react. He loved it, and he had me play it over and over again, and he told me what all the instruments were and the whole history of the sea shanty tradition. So now we will listen.
Oh, we shotgun started at Pebble Creek on the 7 fairway line for salty dogs with clubs and carts and a flask of swinging brine. There was Jerry Bold and Roger Loud and Lloyd forever swearing, and Chuck who squinted at the flight like nautical map reading. And what do do when you hit a 9-iron? What do do when you hit a 9-iron? What do do when you hit a 9-iron? You put it in the water. Lay straight, but Jerry sliced like a gull in squally weather. His ball went port, then further port, then vanished in the heather. Lloyd declared, I saw it land, but none could find it, mate. So he dropped one near the cart path edge and swore it still they ate. Hey, what do they do when you hit a 9-iron? What do they do when you hit a 9-iron? What do they do when you hit a 9-iron? You put it in the water. On 9 upon lay starboard side, a bringy hazard fine. Chuck stepped up with steady grip and swore this hole was mine. But splash it went with sailor's plunk, a cannonball divine. He blamed the wind, the gods, the geese, still wrote himself a 9. Oh! What do they do when you hit a 9-iron? What do they do when you hit a 9-iron? What do they do when you hit a 9-iron? You put it in the water. Now Roger on the 10th hole fair cracked thunder off the tee. The longest drive from here to Mere, near half a nautical league. It rolled and rolled to glory's edge, the crew let out a cheer. Then he chunked the wedge so short it barely left the pier. Hey! What do they do when you hit a 9-iron? What do they do when you hit a 9-iron? What do they do when you hit a 9-iron? You put it in the water. At 11, Chuck found sudden form, a captain in command. He stripped his shot and pitched it close upon the sandy strand. One putt true and down it fell, a birdie brave and fair. He bowed as though the open crowd were roaring from the air. Hey! What do they do when you hit a 9-iron? What do they do when you hit a 9-iron? What do they do when you hit a 9-iron? You put it in the water. The 12th was narrow as a mast, and Lloyd was far from steady. He teed it high, he swung too low, declared himself not ready. 3 balls lost to Perry Rough, like sailors lost at sea. He borrowed one from Jerry's bag, provisional, cried he. Hey! What do they do when you hit a 9-iron? What do they do when you hit a 9-iron? What do they do when you hit a 9-iron? You put it in the water. On 15, Jerry thinned a chip that skittered like a skiff. It rattled past the waiting cup and tumbled off a cliff. He muttered dark strokes to tap it in, and swore he'd three-putt again. Hey! What do they do when you hit a 9-iron? What do they do when you hit a 9-iron? What do they do when you hit a 9-iron? You put it in the water. At 18 spirits run aground and scorecards start to groan. Roger claimed he had a look, though none had seen it shown. The clubhouse called like harbor lights with Dale and Salt to cheer. And Jerry winked at Chuck, mate, let's dock ourselves for beer. Hey! What do they do when you hit a 9-iron? What do they do when you hit a 9-iron? What do they do when you hit a 9-iron? You put it in the water.
Video. Okay, I'm not a director. I'm not a videographer. I'm a terrible cameraman. But I'm sitting at the Canyon Breeze restaurant in Sedona with my wife. We've never been there before. And I'm having a Sedona Rita in one hand. And I got my smartphone in the other hand. And I just downloaded something called Google Flow. It's free. It's on the iPhone too. And I was just playing around, and I started pasting jokes and short poems just to see what kind of videos it would create. Why did the chicken cross the road? To get to the other side. That's all there is to that. But I have 4 or 5 more. There's a famous poem by Ogden Nash, one of my favorite poets. A little talcum is always welcome. I've never seen a purple cow. I never hope to see one. But I can tell you anyhow, I'd rather see one than be one.
Yeah, that's right. I'm real, and I'm fabulous.
Okay, this is actually my top favorite poem of all time. The Perfect Husband, because I am. He helps you when you're wearing too much lipstick and helps you with your girdle when you're hipstick.
Honey, you've got a bit too much lipstick on, and this girdle needs a little help.
This is one of the most famous limericks of all time, written by Reginald Buller. There was a young lady named Bright, whose speed was far faster than light. She set out one day in a relative way and returned home the previous night.
There was a young lady named Bright, who traveled much faster than light. She set out one day in a relative way and came back the previous night.
All short and sweet. I remember this from the youth as birdie, birdie in the sky. Why do you do that in my eye? I won't fuss, I won't cry. Me only glad that cow's not fried. But the original apparently is this. Whitewash.
Birdie, birdie in the sky, drop some whitewash in my eye. I won't fuss and I won't cry.
I'm chuffed, I'm confident, I'm going, I created these wonderful videos with a Sedona Rita in one hand. I did what you saw in 2 hours. I threw that together. I said, I'm going to create a music video, 3 to 4 minutes long. It's going to be fantastic. It's going to go viral. What you're about to see, I spent about 40 hours with one platform, and then I went to give up, and then then ChatGPT suggested I switch to a different one, and what you will see actually was done in about 2 hours. Here we go. Oh, so here's the idea. Here was my prompt, literally. Rewrite the lyrics of Get Your Kicks on Route 66 to reflect Route 66 attractions on Albuquerque Central Avenue. So instead of going from Chicago to LA, we're going from Carlisle to Atrisco. And at the time, I hadn't used Suno yet, so I sent the lyrics to my friend Brett. Half hour later, he sends me 3 MP3s. And he said, and I chose the one I liked best. And then ChatGPT says, by the way, would you like a cool poster? I said, sure. Chuck Webster presents Get Your Kicks on Central Avenue, a Route 66 remix, emo, I don't know about the diner, Your Haven Records. So here it is.
You know, folks say the mother road ends here, but in Albuquerque it swings right on down Central Avenue. East side to west side, city lights gleam, rolling down Central in that desert dream. Past Tiwa Lodge, Luna La Puerta's gleam. Get your kicks on Central Avenue. Well, it winds through Nob Hill full of funky shops. Jones Motor Company where motoring never stops. Historic neon signs and murals you'll see. Get your kicks on Central Avenue. 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 That's the route for me. From Jones Motor past Lobo's Screen, dance hall nights, indie flicks and scenes. Route 66, Dina Neon's bright hue. Get your kicks on Central Avenue. Down through the heart, Chemo's old face. Skip Mazel's store, vintage finds in place. Crossing 4th where 66 meets 66 in view. Get your kicks on Central Avenue. Westbound now toward Atrisco side. Visitor center rising on 9 Mile High. Old motels restored in Pueblo style true. Get your kicks on Central Avenue. From El Campo Court to Rainbow's Glow, signs of a road's past still show. Through every block, history with a clue. Get your kicks on Central Avenue. 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 That's the route for me. West toward Atrisco and beyond so free. The mother road lives in Albuquerque. So mount your wheels, let the city ensue. Get your kicks on Central Avenue.
Obviously, I had to have my younger self star in that video. Okay, 3D worlds, virtual reality. Put on a headset, you can walk around inside someplace. And we have a lot of artworks and craft folks at Muirhaven. And one of my favorite things is to ask someone what their favorite painting is, and then come back a week later and say, hey, put this VR headset on, and they're walking around inside of their favorite painting. Whoa. So this is one of my favorite paintings, Edward Hopper's Nighthawks. And you see, it's in the 40s from their dress, and you see it's about solitude, maybe a little loneliness, the interesting light. So I uploaded that, and I said to ChatGPT, give me the prompt. and the application is called Marble AI, and it creates 3D worlds from 2D images as well as textual instructions. It created this. Now this is 2D because we're looking at it 2D, but you notice the people are gone, and we're inside an application here. And you can't see it right here, but it says Open VR over here. If you click on that and you're in the headset, you could actually go walk around in the diner. And so, since we don't have VR headsets here, I kind of did a fly-through of a video camera, and so you get a sense of that 3D-ness. So here, I'm going to look up. So I'm showing you things that the painter didn't put in this painting. I'm looking at the buildings. I'm looking behind the painter. And this is all inference. It was constructed from the time this was, the style it was. And now, let's go inside. And if other people are wearing VR headsets, we can actually go inside the diner and sit there and talk to each other, even if they're across the world. Okay. And this is my wife. Where's that? You got the, she's going to hand out something. Why don't you bring it up here and then pass it out. In fact, I will demonstrate it. So this cost $15 on Amazon, and it's called a stereoscopic viewer. So there's two images in here, just like there's two images there. And you look at it, and it looks 3D. It looks like there's things that are close, things that are far. And I'm going to start it here, and you can just sort of pass it around back and forth. The stereoscopic images were very, very popular in the 1800s, and it really is amazing. Famous politicians like Grant and Lincoln sat for these, and when you look at them through an old-fashioned, they look 3D, which is kind of neat. They look more present. This horse is called Lexington. There's a wonderful novel called Horse my wife was reading, and this image right here and this image right here were taken from slightly different angles, you see, because we have binocular vision. And if you put those together, it fools the brain into seeing 3D. So, you may be familiar with this. So my grandfather had a shoebox full of these Viewmasters, and I visited Eiffel Tower and the pyramids of Egypt. That was the way I did it back then. Now, there is a hobbyist association called the National Stereoscopic Society. They sound like optometrists, but they collect these. And there's quite a for example, the photo I showed you before with the horse was probably a couple $100. It's a collectible. So, the annual show was here about a month ago, and the guy that runs it contacted me because I run a VR club and an AI club. He says, "Why don't you come and talk about what you're doing?" And so I said, "Okay." And I thought I should have a demo. And the demo that is being passed around is literally what I took there. And I said, "You know, Route 66, there is a mural down at 2nd and Central near the Andalus Theater." I took that picture, and I said to ChatGPT, "Can you make a stereoscopic image?" And that's what you're looking at in this little viewer. And ChatGPT said, "Sure, but you have to understand this. I make up stuff. You're not going to get literally that in 3D. You're going to get some crazy, maybe even better thing that I invented. Is that okay with you?" I said, "I'm not sure." And then it said, "Well, there's probably going to be a really, really cool looking Corvette." I said, "Yeah, I'm doing it." So here we go. Now, when you look at this here, it doesn't look like it's 3D, but there are it's as if this picture was taken, a little far apart. And when you look at it through the viewer, this beautiful Corvette looks like it's close, and this stuff looks like it's in the midground, and then the horizon is off in the distance. And that is what I just passed around. And believe it or not, we are very close to the end. In fact, the conclusion. So, I normally spend an hour and a half telling people how to do everything you just saw. Here what I did was I just took the stuff that was created and I skipped all of that tutorial stuff. If you go to MarehavenKnight.com, there's actually a lot of instructional materials about what software to download, what to click on. But the two things to remember are this, and this is why I started with that. You know, it's amazing how much you can achieve if you don't know what you're doing. And the reason is because whatever it is you don't know what you're doing about, AI can help you. You say, I'm trying to create this and I don't know how to do it. And ChatGPT goes, okay, let's figure it out together. There's my email, chuckwebstermd@gmail. And I would be delighted if anybody has a project or something they're working on. I want to find out, maybe this will inspire you. And at this point, I know that AI has a lot of, it's in the news a lot. And people are opinionated, both, in fact, I'll say, there was a recent survey by the Pew Survey Organization, and only 16 or 17% of Americans have a positive view of AI. And when I gave the presentation at Oasis, it was packed. It sold out in 2 hours. It sold out in 2 hours. And I said, is there anybody here because they don't like AI? 8 people raised their hands, and it was probably double. But the group that I run, which is the AI Club at Muirhaven, our motto is fun, useful, controversial. So my goal is not to sell AI to people. My goal is to keep people's brains going on all cylinders. And now I'm happy to take some questions